I'm calling the meeting to order. Whoops.
Okay, that's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:45.
Perfect. So let's do a roll call, and this will be the same order that I'm going to use throughout the meeting. So Sue,
Here.
Cheryl,
Yeah, here.
okay, Celia,
Here.
and Kathy.
Here.
Very good. Thank you. So next item, Susan, if you want to go through and approve of the agenda. I have no changes to the agenda. Jen, I don't think you have any as well.
No.
So if we can have a motion and a second, and then I'll roll call the approval of the agenda.
Okay, this is Cheryl. I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Celia. And roll call, Susan?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, accept, whatever.
Celia?
Accept.
Kathy?
Accept.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, I forgot to pull the minutes up. I knew there was something I forgot to do. So let me find the minutes from last time and I will pull that up and we can look at that. You guys should have gotten that. So hopefully you've had a minute to look it over from last time. And so this is going to be way confusing to me because I got to do a new share. Holy cats. There we go. Let's hope I did it right. You guys all have the agenda from, or the minutes from 6:23?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Any changes, amendments, corrections to those minutes?
No.
All right. If there are no changes, amendments, or corrected to the minutes, then I need a motion, a second, and then again, I'll roll call it.
I motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Cheryl. Can I have a second? Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Okay, Sue, do you agree?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Agree.
Thank you, Celia.
Agree.
And Kathy.
Agree.
All right, so let's go back to new share. Go back to our current agenda. Very good. Public comment, we are almost right on the mark at 6:47. There's no one in our waiting room. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a public comment? Very good. And I have not received any emails on public comment, which it just occurred to me that we never, later on, Jen, let's you and I talk about the agenda and that we didn't send it where we were supposed to, but that's okay. Things happen.
Agree.
Very good. All right. Very good. So no public comments were received. Again, the calendar is printed on the Commonwealth calendar, so these meetings are already public knowledge. And we'll go down to advocate report in a second. I'll talk about that. But Chairperson, do you have any announcements or anything?
No, I don't.
Very good. So advocate report and training. So Jen, do you want to talk about the in-person return? And we can talk about why that's happening if we need to.
Sure. So we're looking at August as being our next in-person LHRC, and that's due to pretty much state activities are going back to pre-pandemic. The state of emergency was lifted, I think, as of July 1. And so that means that, you know, all of those precautions that we had put in place, including virtual meetings, as now are as much as possible supposed to go back to in-person. So I've contacted NVMHI and we've secured our normal room, that big room that we used to meet in right off of the entrance. So they've been given our schedule. They know, you know, when we're going to be meeting, and just confirmed with them that then August will be our first in-person. I know, Celia, you're probably squirming in your pants there about
I am actually. I'm about to be in tears.
how we're going to address that, but we can maybe talk about that offline.
Sure.
But as far as I understand it, and Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that a quorum had to be present in person and then only a few exceptions made for those people not appearing in person. So
Yeah, and we can talk about that, but the basics is, this is all based off of the FOIA state requirements. And so during the emergency order, some of those things were flexed, and it had to do with all public meetings, and this is a public meeting. And so we have to follow FOIA. Now, that doesn't mean that those things won't change down the line, because certainly there is a push for many public meetings, not just ours, but many public meetings have occurred successfully during the pandemic, and that there is a push for some changes to those FOIA laws. So FOIA as it stands now is that a quorum must be physically present in one location, and then anybody beyond that quorum can still attend. So Celia, you would be able to still participate as long as we had a physical quorum physically present, and then you could still sit on those meetings. Remember, we lost Taylor, but we should have Juanita coming on for the next meeting. I feel like the dates are close from when the SHRC is going to approve her. I think they meet on the 19th, and then we meet a week later. So she should be good to go for the August meeting. And so she will be in person. So as long as we maintain that, your guys are going to need to make a decision about Steve and what you want to do with him. He has not attended any of the meetings. I know, Jen, you've tried to contact him. So there needs to be discussion about whether you terminate him from the committee with no error or fault on his part. He just really wasn't able to participate. Maybe with the in-person meetings, he'll be able to resume participation. But if he's not, he counts against your quorum and against your numbers and how many you need to have physically present. So, I mean, if we can have a discussion now about what you guys want to do, if you want to wait and see if he's able to come to the August meeting and verify his continued interest, or we can start the process and notify the SHRC that, you know, he hasn't been able to come, he hasn't returned any communications, that you're going to terminate him from your roles. It's really up to you guys to kind of come to some decision, but just so you know, it does count against you when you have a member who doesn't come on a regular basis, in terms of that physical quorum needing to be present.
I was going to, and I think, Ann, you mentioned this last month, I just haven't done it yet, send him a certified letter, asking formally, and also letting him know that the August meeting is going to be in person and we're returning back to that. Maybe that will have some effect.
And certainly I think that Ivana can help you with that, because the MVMHI sends out certified mail all the time. So maybe that's something you guys can coordinate, that Ivana would be able to send it out from there, as opposed to you using personal funds and seeking reimbursement and all that. Maybe it's something that MVMHI can do. So that's if you guys are good with that. If you're wanting Jen to send a certified letter to evaluate his continued interest, I would suggest that we give it a due date that he respond by. I really would rather not wait until that August meeting to see if he shows or not. I think you want to know beforehand. So Jen, depending on when you can get the letter out, and you guys make a determination about how much time you want to give him to respond. I mean, I want to be reasonable, but I want to reflect that it does count against you. So certainly you guys can have that discussion. These are just some of the support that we want to give you with regard to that.
Yeah, I can get that letter put together this week. And then Ivana, would you mind checking in with NVMHI about how we can go about sending a letter certified?
Yes, I can go ahead and check in with them.
Okay, I'll email the letter to you by the end of the week. Well, today's Wednesday. Yeah, so by Friday.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
So if it goes out, let's say it goes out on August 2nd, when would you all want him to respond by, so that you have some sense of his continued interest? Because we would want to if he says no, thank you, we want to have some time to be able to tell the SHRC that he's resigned from the committee, and get that on our rolls officially. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How about 2 weeks? Is that too little a time?
No, that gives until the 16th. I think that that's fine. And I want to say when, I'm going to look at my calendar real quick and see when the SHRC is meeting. So the SHRC is meeting on the 19th, so that's fine. If he doesn't respond by the 16th, then we'll assume that he's not interested. And that should be a part of that letter, that if we don't hear from you by the 16th, we'll assume you're no longer interested, and we will advise the SHRC of your removal. So we'll say that the due date then is 8/16, and if no response, then I'll notify the SHRC by the 19th. Is that agreeable to everyone?
Yes.
So if you're interested in that, if someone can make a motion second, and I'll roll call it, that's how we're going to move forward with that membership, then we can do that. Someone want to make a motion?
I make a
Okay.
motion that we send Steve a letter and give him 2 weeks to respond.
Okay, very good. Second?
Second the motion.
Thank you. Susan?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Celia?
Yes.
And Kathy?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So in person, so again, if, in terms of it relates to other members of this committee, that there is the opportunity to participate in a virtual fashion. To be fair and honest, I guess, I'm not really sure what that looks like, how you would do that. The Zoom link, as far as I know, is still going to be active. I haven't figured out 100% the interface for all of that, whether it's you dial in, Celia, into that, or whether we're using a conference line. I really don't know. It's going to kind of be a trial by fire sort of a thing, because there is the thought that providers would still have the opportunity to participate electronically like we're doing tonight. If that's the case, I'm not entirely sure how that all gets shared, whether it's our computer is, blasted up on the board at the conference room so that everyone present can see it. And then we'd all still be able to interact on the Zoom meeting. There'd be the live audience, and then there'd be the Zoom. I'm just not entirely sure about that, but we'll figure that out come August. Any questions or thoughts on that? So in terms of your membership, Celia, we're going to keep you on unless there's discussion outside that you have concerns about that. And certainly members are always welcome to have those discussions with us. But we're going to look to keep you on. And as long as we can manage the in-person, then there's no concern for us. You guys have concerns, you're welcome to raise that and bring that up.
Thank you. I hope nobody has concerns.
Absolutely not.
No, we love you.
Oh, thank you. I love you guys too.
Very, very
I
caring.
did have a question about mask wearing at the meetings. I mean, apparently, it goes by county in terms of
Oh.
whether it's recommended that you wear masks inside.
Well, I think maybe Ivana can comment on the mask policy now at MVMHI, but I think as far as I know, if you're in the hospital, you're wearing a mask. And if you're, at least when I was there, if you were in a face-to-face meeting, which I hadn't been in one in a while, I'm assuming that they're probably wanting you to wear a mask?
Yes, that's correct. Wear a
Okay.
mask
Okay.
while you're in the meeting.
Okay. Because I would feel better about that.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that too. That's good to know. So we'll need to have masks. Reminder, you need to have your parking pass. Do you guys know if your parking passes are valid?
Mine expired 6/30/20. So I'll need a new one.
Okay, so you'll just need to give yourself a couple extra minutes when you get there. And were they the paper ones, or did you guys have different ones? I don't remember.
It says temporary parking permit. It's a paper one, blue.
So maybe Ivana or Jen, if you can let MVMHI know that we'll need about 6, parking permits that will last for the remainder of the year, depending on how they space them out, to have those ready. That way this front desk staff are not trying to get those all going when we all show up, right? I don't know about my state car, though I try to park in the state car parking spot so then I don't get dinged. But
Ivana, I'm not sure who would be handling that now. I think the person I originally set that up with has left.
Okay.
It might be Zach in security, because he's the one that issued yours.
Yes, I can talk to them tomorrow. Actually, I'll be in the building, so I'll go and run past them and see what they say about that. So you said about 6?
I think so.
Yes.
So you and we should be fine,
Right.
Jen, but depending on yours, we might still need one. And then at least the 4 members. Yeah, I would say about 6, because Juanita, her group will need one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would say about 6, just so they have them ready. And if they want the names of the individuals, we can give them that as well.
And just let them know that
but
we had this set up pre-pandemic, and it's because the LHRC members are coming there once a month on a regular basis.
Okay, perfect. I will
Thank you.
text them.
Yep, okay. Once I have people interrupting me, so forgive me for a second. Yeah, people can't cook dinner without me. It's all I gotta say. They better save me some. That's really what it's at. All right, so we're supposed to have, any other questions on that before we move on? So just a quick comment. This is less a training, more a comment about restrictions and variances, and it's just continuing the conversation from last time. And I'm just going to do this until the Clementine comes into the picture. So we're waiting on them. Clementine Twin Lakes is an existing program. They've been doing research, and this is just them giving us that update. They're opening a new program, but it's under a different license. It's just the way that they did it. So because it's under a different license, they need to come and let us know about that research project. So down the road, you know, if we say we want an update in a year, which is what we've done with them, we can have them come back in July of 2022, and we can have them give an update on both at the same time. So we can group them together. That's perfectly fine. But they're presenting semi-separate, even though really it's a duplication of all that information. But just a comment real quick about restrictions and variances. And I think we started this conversation last month about Youth for Tomorrow. They're on our agenda for today. So it came to our knowledge that Youth for Tomorrow, similar to some other programs that we've discovered, are using approved contact lists, meaning that they're not allowing the individual to call or receive any phone calls or visitors other than what's on this approved contact list. So that's really not in line with the regulations. So they're seeking a restriction to that. They do it for every single person that walks in their door. So that's 50 some odd people that they have a constant set of restrictions for with this contact list. The provider wasn't aware that that was a restriction to the individual's rights. And so what we're doing now is playing catch up. We started that last month, where they're doing a restriction sheet on every single person that has this approved contact list, which is every single person in their program. The end objective is that there will be a variance. A variance, as we kind of touched upon last time, is that you're saying this regulation, I can't do that. And I can't do it, and here's why, and here's what I'm going to do instead. And that's what the wording of the variance essentially is. The variance has to go before the provider's board and their governing body, and they have to approve that they're going to request this variance, the language in the variance, what you're going to do in place of it. It comes before you guys, then it goes to the SHRC. I might have the order wrong. Then it goes to the SHRC, then it's published publicly, there's public comment period, then the SHRC is the final authority. But in the interim, there's going to be these restrictions. And when we look at the ones for Youth for Tomorrow for today, there's 28, 29, I think that, I can't do the math, 26,
28.
28, 27, that's 27.
Because we already reviewed 4.
Yeah. So we're going to look at those, and we will go through them one by one and use their names, but the restrictions are all going to be the same. It's that the contact, whether initiated by the individual or received by the individual, is only going to be for those identified on this list. This list is generated by the guardian, the individual, and the treatment team. So there's conversations around that development, but we're not going to go through each one. And that's why, because they're going to be a boilerplate. Jen has already looked at all of them, verified that the information is is accurate, and then we're going to approve those on an ongoing basis as they have admissions. Every month you can expect to see a handful of these that we're going to be reviewing, and again they're going to be the same template. Jen's going to verify that. It's just you needing to approve that these restrictions can go on. And we talked about putting a date, you know, a year from now. I think we said a year from now, or maybe it was January, February, giving them enough time to get this variance in place, hopefully before they have to come back and review that, for us to review those restrictions again. Fingers crossed, but that's the plan. But just, I wanted to make sure that we all had that understanding about the variance, about the restrictions, why it was happening the way it was happening, and because it's a lot that we're going to look at tonight. So less of a training, more of a conversation. Any questions on that? Does it make sense what we're doing?
Yes.
Or did I lose you all?
No, it makes sense.
Okay, very good. So I want to go look at my agenda here because I thought that I said 7 o'clock for these folks.
Yep.
All right, I did. Well, they missed it last month, which was a little concerning. So interestingly enough, this particular program, Clementine, through our conversation with them today and yesterday, they have some program rules that they are sending to us because of the opening of the Fairfax program. Dr. Barron is coming on. What time did we say for Dr. Barron? 7:20. I'm going to let her stay in the room for a couple of minutes in case we see that Clementine comes on, but if not, we can bring her in. Is she the only one for NVMHI?
As far as I know, right, Ivana?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So I just want to give it another couple of minutes. We may go into closed session, let her do it. We can come out of closed session if Clementine comes in, or push Clementine off until later. We can see how that works out because I don't want to hang around. I don't want to leave Dr. Barron waiting too long. Anyway, just to continue the discussion, we're reviewing their program rules, which depending on your guys' workload over the next couple of months, we'll have them bring the program rules before you, because it's always interesting to look at how other programs do it. They're very thorough, they're positively worded, which I was really pleased to see. We've had other programs that say that they're trauma-informed recovery and everything is in the negative. And this was all stated very positively. However, we did find out that they also are using some form of an approved contact list, and we're going to have a meeting with them next week to seek some clarity on that, because you can have, if you're going to have an exclusionary list that Jen can't talk to Fred and Jan, okay, but she can talk to anyone on this list and we can add to this list, those are two different things. We want to be clear in how they're developing that list, whether it's exclusionary, whether it's inclusive. So it may be that we have some restrictions for them as well that we'll be reviewing down the road. So stay tuned. We've hit the open Pandora's box on this particular issue, I think, Jen, so.
Yep.
Very good. So it's 7:07, a little discouraged that Clementine Twin Lakes is in our time zone and yet not logging on to the meeting for the second month in a row. I'm not sure what that means in terms of their compliance with our regulations, and we'll have to look at that. But as far as I knew, they were good to go on today's meeting. Otherwise, any questions on what we talked about and just the brief training on the restrictions and variances conversation? So I'm going to make the suggestion that we give it to 7:10. If Clementine doesn't come on the line in 7:10, then we can go into closed session and bring Dr. Barron in. We can always pop back out of closed session if they do come in while Dr. Barron is with us. Does that sound agreeable to everybody?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, thank you.
What time do you have? I have a 7:10.
Oh, I have 7:08. Look at you, fast
Oh.
clock.
I have 7:08.
It's always the debate about whose clock is right in my house. All right, we'll give it another minute. Any other questions? Anybody, anything anyone wants to add in terms of the training, other trainings you want to see? It's still been on the agenda for us to consider doing a annual training, and I think that we're going to work towards that. But after we catch our breath, we'll start to work towards that. All right, so I am going to. Oops, where is it? I'm going to pull up the into closed session and have you guys read that in a motion in a second and certify. Then we'll bring Dr. Barron in. So Sue, do you want to read that?
Whereas the Northern Virginia Hospitals Local Human Rights Committee desires to discuss in closed session client-related matters, and whereas pursuant to VA Code 2.1-344A, paragraph 15, for the protection of the privacy of individuals and their records in personal matters not related to public business, such discussions may occur in closed session. Now, therefore, be it whoops.
Sorry. Let me go back. Sorry about that.
That's okay, I got it.
Okay.
Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northern Virginia Hospitals Local Human Rights Committee does hereby authorize discussions of the aforementioned matters in closed session.
Have a second?
Aye.
Thank you, Celia.
Mhm.
All right, Sue, are you in agreement with going to closed session?
Yes.
Cheryl?
In agreement.
Celia?
Yes.
Kathy?
In agreement.
I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to pause the recording. Oh,
I'm ready.
very good.
Whereas the Northern Virginia Hospitals Local Human Rights Committee has this day adjourned into closed session in accordance with a formal vote of the committee and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas the Freedom of Information Act requires certification that such closed session was conducted in conformity with the law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northern Virginia Hospitals Local Human Rights Committee does hereby certify, to the best of their knowledge, only matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such matters for the protection of the privacy of the individuals and their records in personal matters not related to public business were heard, discussed, or considered.
Can I have a second?
I second.
Second.
Thank you, Celia and Kathy. Sue, are you in agreement with, do you have to say so certified?
So certified.
Cheryl?
So certify.
Celia?
So certified.
Kathy?
So certified.
Very good. So let me review the recommendations that you guys made during closed session, and we can do a motion, a second, and a roll call vote on those recommendations. Individual number 1, the recommendation is for that restrictions plan to be reviewed at the December 8th meeting. Individual number 2, the recommendation is for the restrictions related to the crisis plan to be reviewed at the October 27th meeting. And individuals 3 through 29, the recommendation is for those restrictions to be reviewed at the January 26th meeting. Is that an accurate summary? And if so, I need a motion for those recommendations, a second, and roll call.
I move to accept the recommendations from the closed session.
Very good. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. And in agreement with those recommendations, Sue?
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Yes.
Celia?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
So one of the good things about being in person is we don't have to do roll call like that. We already know who's there. So it appears that Clementine has not come before us yet again. What that means in terms of their ongoing research, I'll have to look into that because, to be honest, I don't know. But it does mean that their new facility, their research has not been approved, and we will seek to get them on the agenda. I will remind you guys that the August agenda has it doesn't sound like a lot now because we did 26 tonight, but has that group of, is it 8 or 9? It's a pretty fair amount. Jen, do you remember?
From CSI?
Yeah. It's like 8 or
Yeah, that
9.
sounds about right.
Yeah. So maybe more restriction plans to review, and that's a big group. That'll be at our August meeting. And so again, I'll try to get Clementine to come back to that meeting, but this is the second meeting that they missed, so we'll see what happens there. Any other questions regarding that?
Can I make a
None.
comment about the next meeting in August?
Yes, please.
Just, do you think everybody, you guys, are you okay with coming in August? Will everybody be there?
I won't make it.
Oh, yeah,
Kidding, but I can be there by phone or however if it's available.
right, okay. What about everybody else?
Right now, I'll be
Like-
there.
Okay,
Kathy, what did you say?
I said excuse me, likely. I'd say yes.
Okay, good.
The 20, you said?
it's the 28th, I think, right, Ann?
Oh,
August
25th? I don't-
25th, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
25th.
say.
yeah, 25th.
Yeah, I'm just not quite sure yet.
Okay.
All right, very good.
Susan, what'd you say?
If there's no other
I think
business.
so.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Thank you all. Thank you for sitting through what was an exercise in really challenging my ability to manage the windows. I appreciate your patience with it. That was a lot to sit through. That's where you zone out, right?
You did a great job.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for all of that. Any other closing remarks, thoughts, comments? If not, then the chair may adjourn the meeting.
Okay, you never agree with my time, but
I'll go with whatever you say.
I am adjourning the meeting at 8:14.
8:14 it is. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you all. Let's pop this up here.